Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome to 2026. Whether you're listening to this with a cup of coffee or you're lying in bed thinking about how you're going to spend the next 365 days, I'm genuinely glad that you're here. And this episode actually feels special because, again, the new year isn't just a date change, it's a reset. It's a moment we have to reflect on where we have been and to get excited about where we're going. But before we dive in today into this special New Year episode of the CyberSec Migrant podcast, I want to pause and say thank you to everyone who has been listening, sharing episodes, sending messages, leaving comments, supporting the CyberSec Migrant over the past couple of years. I don't take that lightly. I really appreciate all the feedback and all the support we've gotten. This podcast started as a conversation, and I can't believe it's grown into a huge community. It's a global one. Because even though I'm primarily based in North America, I've got audiences from all over the entire world, from Africa to Asia to Europe to the Americas, both North and South. It's completely overwhelming, and I don't take any one of you for granted. I truly, deeply appreciate every one of you who is here. If you've been here from the very early days, thank you for sticking with me on this journey and coming on this journey of discovery with me. And if this is your first time listening, welcome. You found your way to a show that's all about cybersecurity careers, identity, resilience, and navigating this tough industry, especially as an immigrant or a career switcher or a professional trying to make sense of a rapidly changing world. And so here's what you can expect if you're new. What I do on this podcast is to break down complex cybersecurity topics without the jargon. We talk honestly about careers, about the wins, the struggles, and the realities of actually building a successful career in cybersecurity. But most importantly, we don't focus on the technology. We focus on the people who make cybersecurity what it is. So, and also in addition to the podcast, we've got a YouTube channel where we leave out lots of other ancillary content that supports our cybersecurity journey. And if you're trying to build your career or you're trying to understand a little bit about a certain area of cybersecurity, something that piques your interest, I'm sure there's going to be something here for everyone. Now, 2026 is shaping up to be such a huge year for cybersecurity because we're entering an era where AI isn't just assisting attackers, it's becoming the attacker itself. It's a place where trust, authenticity, and identity are totally under real pressure. Regulations, geopolitics, talent shortages, all of them are colliding in ways that will redefine the industry for the next decade and beyond. And that's what we're going to talk about today in this New Year special. So we're going to look ahead. We're going to talk about what is coming, what does that mean for your career, and how can you position yourself not just to survive 2026, but to thrive in a career in cybersecurity. And also, if you're enjoying this kind of conversation, make sure you're subscribed on YouTube and follow us on Spotify or wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio, anywhere, Castbox, Audible, we're everywhere, anywhere you can find your podcast. Just search the CyberSec Migrant. I'm sure we're going to pop up because there is a whole lot more coming up this year. And I would love to have you along for the ride. So let's get into today's episode of the CyberSec Migrant podcast. So we've just gone into 2026 and 2025 now is in the rear view mirror. And if you didn't catch it, I'm going to leave a card up here to the Christmas special where I talked about a review of 2025, the things that matter, the things that happen, the big wins and losses of 2025. So go check that out. But 2026 is the year we're going to see all of these things accelerate. We're going to see an acceleration in attacks. We're going to see an acceleration in regulation. And we're also going to see an acceleration in careers, for the better or for the worse. Because this is a year when the speed of things is going to happen. It's going to be a defining factor. Because in this year, we're going to see a lot of new things happen. We're going to see things like automated defenses versus autonomous attacks. We're going to see things like regulation versus innovation. We're going to see things like human judgment versus machine decision making. And sitting right in the middle of all of this, it's us, the people, those who make cybersecurity what it is. So in this New Year special, we're going to be looking ahead, not with hype, but with strategy. We are going to talk about things like AI-powered autonomous threats, the collapse of authenticity online, a geopolitical cyber conflict and critical infrastructure, new regulations like the Cyber Resilience Act, and that brutally competitive cybersecurity talent market. Tell me about it. Including while salaries are exploding and roles still seem unfilled, or you just can't find anyone to fill that roles. Think of this episode as the answer to one question. How do you survive and thrive in cybersecurity in 2026? First things first, I think there is going to be a crisis of authenticity. Because 2026 is going to be the year AI stops being a tool attackers use and becomes the attacker itself. Hear me out. We're entering the era of autonomous cyber operations. So that means that instead of a human manually exploiting your systems, adversaries would define an objective, gain access, exfiltrate data, disrupt operations, and hand that over to an AI agent, an agentic AI agent, if you will. And that agent is going to do the rest. So that AI agent is going to be able to chain minor vulnerabilities into major breaches, rewrite their own logic in real time, and adapt faster than traditional detection systems. And that is going to break the old defender advantage, because the most immediate impact, and quite terrifying, isn't technical, it's psychological. We're going to see a situation where in 2026, deepfakes are going to become flawless. Flawless voice, flawless video, flawless tone, flawless context. How do you defend against all of that? Because attackers won't just impersonate your CEO. They're going to sound exactly like them, reference last week's meeting, and follow the same communication patterns. And with 2026 being an election year in several regions around the world, expect deepfake powered fraud and influence operations to surge. And that's where we're going to hit a wall with traditional security thinking. Because the CIA triad, confidentiality, integrity, availability, it assumes one thing, that what you're seeing is real. But when identities, voices, and faces can all be fabricated perfectly, we need a new pillar to add to our CIA triad. And I think we should add the pillar of authenticity to that. Because authenticity has to become the fourth foundational pillar of cybersecurity. Can we verify who is really speaking? Can we prove what is real? Can we trust signals at machine speed? And of course, defending this is going to require things like AI-driven behavioral detection. Yes, we're going to fight AI with AI. Phishing-resistant authentication. Stricter zero-trust enforcement. Yes, I know some people say zero trust is a buzzword, but hear me out. And of course, we're going to need identity-centric security at every single layer of the enterprise. Because, let's face it, agentic AI is going to become like power without any seatbelt. Because some organizations today are deploying agentic AI, autonomous systems that make decisions and execute tasks with minimal human oversight. It's got huge potential, but there's equally incredible risk with such systems. Because without the right governance, agentic AI is going to introduce things like unpredictable behavior. How do you know what it's going to do? Because there's no governance. There's a loss of accountability. I didn't do it, the AI did it. And of course, it's going to provide new attack surfaces. And the one I love the most, nightmares for your folks in compliance. So right now, this year, looking forward, security leaders aren't going to just be protecting systems. They're going to be setting the rules for our digital decision spaces. And that means that what do we need? We need clear AI governance frameworks. We're going to need transparency and auditability. We're going to need controls around unauthorized use of AI by employees. Because let's face it, every company, even when you restrict and say, no, we don't allow AI, you're going to find that one person in that one team who's going to say, I need that AI tool for my project, and is going to go outside of the bounds and try to do it anyway. So you've got to put controls around such unauthorized AI use by the enterprise employees. And of course, most importantly, security by design. We've got to bake in security into the very design of the AI lifecycle. It's not optional. It's something we have to do. It's something the regulators are going to be watching. Of course, also, we've got geopolitics. As AI is accelerating, the pressure is only going to grow with geopolitics, because we've got nation-state cyber activity from state actors like Russia and China and Iran and North Korea. They continue to test the limits of what they can do for cyber activity, and it's unabated. Of course, each of these entities, each of these actors are driven by distinct, different strategic objectives. What's the key shift for 2026? There is no quiet period anymore. Cyber conflict is now persistent background noise. It's always happening. It's always in the move. It's always going on. You've got to be on your toes every single time. And most of the time, what are they targeting? Critical infrastructure. That's your next flashpoint. Because many experts today widely expect a high impact cyber incident targeting critical infrastructure like water systems, or transportation, or communications, or energy, or even OT environments. And just think about it. If you have one major incident tied to geopolitical tension, that can trigger mandatory federal standards across critical infrastructure. And of course, when that happens, what happens to our security leaders? They become something else entirely. They become people who are in charge of resilience, because your job as a leader is no longer just to stop attacks. It's to ensure that when a system fails, we have continuity. We're able to continue working even in the face of an attack, even if in the face of our systems going through a failure. That's why we're seeing a lot of teams, a lot of enterprises are beginning to adopt things like multi-cloud strategies, cloud failover architectures, and disaster recovery is tested consistently. Not just like a tabletop exercise where they read through it, but they're constantly testing it like a muscle, failing over systems to test them that they actually work. And of course, layered on top of all of this geopolitics is regulation. So, for example, in the European Union, they've got the Cybersecurity Resilience Act. It's going to require mandatory vulnerability reporting for all manufacturers beginning in September 2026. And at the same time, you have all your cyber insurers. They're tightening their requirements for you to even be able to get cyber insurance. Things like MFA is non-negotiable. It's expected that you're going to have EDR and XDR as part of your enterprise, as part of your environment. Your incident response plans must exist. And not just exist, they have to be tested. And of course, you can't just leave your vendors to do what they want. You must demonstrate clear vendor oversight. And of course, for mid-sized organizations, that's a brutal reality, because it means though you might be mid-sized, you are expected to provide enterprise-grade expectations, even though you have a SMB level budget. And that gap is creating an opportunity for MSPs, MSSPs, cybersecurity consultants, those who can deliver verified compliance, phishing resilience, and even deepfake attack readiness efficiently. So that's an opportunity going into 2026 that I think is going to see a growth and a rise in demand.
Hey CyberSec Migrant listeners, if you're enjoying the show, help us spread the word. Share the CyberSec Migrant podcast with your friends, your colleagues, and your network. It's the best way to help others discover our awesome content and to join the conversation. And don't forget to follow us on your favorite podcast platform. We're available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and any other place where you get your podcast, so you never miss an episode. And do hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. Your support helps us keep bringing you more valuable content, insights, and stories, and all these tips from the world of cybersecurity. And thank you for tuning in. And now, let's get back to today's episode.
And of course, there is the talent war, because people have to survive. And that's what people really want to know. The jobs, the careers, the money. Because despite all the chaos, the market is actually doing quite well. Why is it doing well? Because tools like AI and the cloud and e-commerce and regulation, all of those increase risk. And what does risk do? Risk demands talent. Of course, the industry doesn't lie. Pulling out some stats about the industry median salary is about $103,000. Most entry-level roles are in the $65,000 to $85,000 range. And if you're in a senior or strategic role, you can expect to earn even a lot higher than all of that. Some senior roles are projected to command salaries up to $180,000 annually. And what's the key insight? The market rewards expertise, not titles. So it's the skills you bring to the table that are going to be highly in demand. And some of the most highly demand skills for 2026 are going to be things like cloud security across the various cloud platforms, AWS, Azure, GCP. Of course, anyone who can effectively implement an identity governance architecture, maybe using zero trust, like I said, for example, earlier, those people are going to command a lot of influence. Or somebody who can implement AI and automation security, or XDI and unified platforms, or even post-quantum cryptography. All of these roles are going to be highly in demand. In fact, Post-quantum cryptography, or PQC in particular, is emerging as a future-proof specialization for those who really want to go deep. So if you want to do some preparation, don't want to just focus on the theory, there is some work for you to do, and there is some opportunity if you're willing to do the work to get yourself to that level where you can be recognized as an expert in your field. And of course, things get personal as well at this point. Sometimes, depending on what report you read, they say the US alone has over 700,000 on-field cybersecurity roles. And yet, there is a slowdown on immigration. So, that is a paradox. We've got roles and demand to fill roles with high salaries and global talent ready to work, but there's regulation blocking access. So how do organizations respond? Automation aggressively, or offshore hiring, or recruiting in less regulated markets. Again, that is going to bring in its own level of risk. But what's the important lesson for us as cybersecurity professionals, especially for those of us who have an international outlook? Portability is important. You have to be able to show that your skills transcend borders. Cloud, AI, defense in depth, resilience frameworks, compliance, all of those aren't geographically restricted to one region. Those are things that are required irrespective of where you are, and they can give you leverage anywhere. So if you're looking for what are the skills you need to develop, what are the tools you need to harness to actually improve your chances of being relevant in 2026 and beyond, you've got to develop those skills around the cloud, AI, resilience, compliance. Because the professionals who are going to win in 2026 are the ones who understand both the technology that we're going to be working with and the regulatory language that's going to be shaping it. So, as we think of all of these things, I think 2026 is not just going to be a very gentle year or a very docile year for cybersecurity. No, it's not. It's going to be a defining one. Because again, authenticity is going to replace trust. We don't just trust. We have to make sure that we're authenticating that, is this real? Is this true? Is this what it really is? And of course, resilience is actually going to replace prevention, because we're going to get to the point where we're not just trying to prevent things from happening, but we're going to show that even when they happen, we are resilient enough to keep on going on without having major impact on our operations. And of course, we're going to have to learn to do that at speed. And of course, the professionals who are going to thrive, they won't be the ones chasing trends. They'll be the ones that are building those skills at the intersection of technology and risk and policy. So if you're listening to this episode, you're already ahead. You know what to do. You know what's required of you. So go ahead and start thinking about it. What can you do and how can you make yourself relevant in 2026 and beyond? Once again, I want to say thank you for starting your year with the CyberSec Migrant. Check out the other episode on the podcast where we talk to people, other immigrants who have actually made the switch, built a successful career in cybersecurity. And of course, check out other content on our YouTube channel where we talk about various things in the cybersecurity industry that you could find interesting. And don't forget to let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And if this episode helped you think differently about 2026, share with someone who needs it. Stay sharp, stay adaptable, and let's make 2026 your best year yet. And I will see you in the next episode.